French Real Estate Podcast. Hello, everybody. This is David, host of the French Real Estate Podcast and founder of ESRAFrance.com, your source to learn about how the French real estate buying process works. Today, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to share with you some important words for you to be aware of when you're in conversation with people about French real estate. Now, instead of me spelling out the words, although in some cases I may need to spell them out to you, I'm going to share with you them in the best attempt on my behalf of pronouncing words in French. Of course, my first language is English, so not perfect, but we'll give it a shot here, just so you start to become familiar with the sounds of some words. For example, when you're looking for a real estate office in France, did you know it's called Agence Immobilière? Agence Immobilière. Hoping that's correct pronunciation. That's a real estate agency or real estate office in France. Now, if you're looking for a real estate agent, you're looking for someone to help you find an agent immobilier. Agent as against agence, agent immobilier. So A-G-E-N-T-S. And be aware that a real estate agent, agent immobilier, is what you would call in North America kind of like the broker, the owner of the office, the person who holds the main license for the office. But you may actually end up working with someone who is a agent commercial or an agent mandataire. Agent commercial is a commercial agent, which is very similar to what we would call in North America a real estate salesperson. So it's important that you know the difference between those two. One of the things that you have to be aware of is the person who is the agent immobilier has what's called a carte professionnelle. Carte professionnelle, carte, C-A-R-T-E in English, professionnel. Every real estate agent has to be registered with the authorities in France, and they should be able to produce for you the professional card, the carte professionnelle. And if a person is not a real estate agent, an agent immobilier, they should be working with an agent who has, who has agent immobilier, who has a carte professionnelle. They can't just be working on their own as an agent commercial or agent mandataire. They're typically connected to a real estate agency. So ask them also for a copy of the documentation to make sure that you're working with someone who has the right to work with you in real estate in France. Now I'll move on to a couple of other words that are quite valuable for you to know. In France, if you're looking for a lawyer to help you with the process, it's called an avocat. And actually, a side thing, I always smile when I hear this, an avocat is also what we call in French an avocado, the actual fruit. So avocat and avocat, one means lawyer and one means the fruit. But of course, you're looking for the avocat, which is the lawyer in France. Now, they're the person who will give you legal advice when you're trying to find out about real estate in France, about the setup of a property, documentation, really legal details. But the person who actually does the documentation for the transaction when you're buying or selling a property in France is typically not a lawyer. It's actually what they call a notaire. In English, we would call them a notary. So you have a notaire in France. It's N-O-T-A-I-R-E, spelling the French word in English. I've just realized I'm already talking over 3 minutes with just those few words for you. And I don't know how my pronunciation is going for you to be able to understand this, but it's really important when you come to France and you're looking to learn about real estate that you start to get a sense of the words, the terminology as they're spoken in France. Yes, indeed, you can read them as I do when I read them in newspaper articles in French, but you want to become familiar with the sounds of words. So when there's conversations taking place in French, you have a sense of what people are talking about. I also highly recommend that you don't do what I did when I moved to France, is wait till you get to France to start learning some of the French language. That was my mistake. So I had to learn once I was on the ground living in France, the French language. Take the time, enjoy the process with a native French-speaking person and learn perhaps through collaboration online, through Zoom or another online network, to be able to speak with someone who lives in France to help learn French words, French conversation that will help you make the transition into living in France better. This is David, host of the French Real Estate Podcast. That was a little bit of an unusual episode there, but I hope you found it of value. The core idea is to encourage you to learn the pronunciation of different words in the French language that will be related to your experience of buying property in France. Please subscribe wherever you hear this mini podcast, and I look forward to sharing with you more soon. Bye for now.